I don't remember, over a year at this point, because I've renewed probably 14, 15 months, something of that nature. I cut when I joined Legal Match, and Legal Match is the only marketing I'm using. Okay. When I joined Legal Match, I cut my marketing overhead by 80%, and I doubled my business. It's been that radically impactful for me and my firm. It's been amazing. I almost didn't believe the attorney that I talked to in Slidell, Louisiana, said the same sort of thing, but of course without the experience, I couldn't hardly believe it. But he was absolutely right. You do have to work the lead generation system in order to have it work for you that way, but we very quickly got pretty good at it. Critical for people that are talking about or thinking about using the service is to make sure you're doing everything you can with the templates that are involved. I've spent a lot of time working on my templates. My conversion rate, meaning prospect to client, is really good. But my representative with Legal Match and I continue ongoingly to work on those templates and our response mechanism so that we're getting in quickly and we're getting in with the right kind of image and impression that will allow us a 30-minute free phone consult or whatever. It's not like presto changeo. It's not magic. The leads are going to be there, and if they're there and you work them correctly, you'll convert them into clients. But it's not something where you just stand by and wait for manna to fall from heaven. My business is actually booming, and I'll tell you why. I don't think it's true for all law firms. But for my practice, people have been out of work. It seems to me as though a lot of them are out of cash. And grandma died 3 years ago and they have not probated the estate. There's some cash, there are assets in that estate. And they've gone to try to harvest those estates and realize they can't do it without letters testamentary or letters of administration, something of that nature. And so, there's a lot of traffic coming to me right now that is in the form of contested, sometimes intestate probate work, meaning there isn't a will, so we're going to have to do an administration and prove up the heirs and those sorts of things. A lot of traffic like that, and I think it's based on the fact that people have been out of work and there's assets in those estates. Apart from the financial part of it that we've already discussed, it's been a big stress reliever, and it has increased my efficiency. Remember, I was running all over town doing all kinds of seminars and lectures and those sorts of things, and many times I was buying lunch for 20, 30 people. I was wearing myself out. I actually at one point retired a 1-year-old Volkswagen with 48,000 miles on it, and now I haven't done a seminar in months. I just don't need to. And so I'm not running around town. And it really fortuitous for me is that I was already in this mode when COVID hit. And, I couldn't do any presentations right now. I live across the street from a senior center and there's nothing going on over there. So for me, it was really, really opportune, fortuitous, however you want to phrase it, that I was already entrenched in this technology before COVID hit. The biggest deal that it's impacted in terms of, other than finances, is just that efficiency. I'm not always chasing my tail. Quality of lead, I guess. I can, because the prospect uploads a synopsis, I can read that synopsis and tell pretty quickly whether I'm a good fit for that or not. I can tell by reading that synopsis whether or not someone is just angry because of how they've been treated by family members or something of that nature. So I'm able to evaluate, before I ever talk to them, evaluate the prospect and familiarize myself with what their situation is. And that seems to strike home to those people that I talk with, because I already know a little bit about the problems that they're having. And that gives me a leg up. Working on those templates is going to be as important as anything. And when I say template, if you're a prospect and you're looking at this video, there are automated responses. I literally I'm notified that someone has posted a need in my area of the law, in my area of the state. And I can, in less than 10 seconds, I can give a response to that, let's say, probate prospect that outlines the entire probate process, tells them about my firm's experience in doing it, things that they can be doing in the meantime to be ready to execute an estate if there's a will, or administer an estate if there's not. And being able to do that, number one, I don't have to create a new response every time I respond. The other thing is I can buff that and polish that and get it as tight and as good as I can, and respond just in seconds. And many times getting to that lead first can be really critical. Just the return on investment. That and the customer service. My representative, Charlie Isaiah, is always there if I need him. They will go to extra lengths to try to get contact information to me for a prospect that has uploaded a legal need but has remained undisclosed as far as their contact info is concerned. Those two things alone, I mean, that's the story. It's a great return on investment, and the customer service is great. Just the ease of operation. It takes a few minutes to front load what you're going to present to those learn the system. But here's the good news: during that time frame, you're under the care of a person that's assigned directly to you on a full-time basis. Anytime you need help, anytime that you're unsure about what you're doing, they're there by phone in order to walk you through your situation. Now, that doesn't stop when that period ends, because anytime, like I said, Charlie's great. Anytime I need him, he's there. But that's one of the big things. You've got to know the system. You have to spend some time with the buttons and the switches and find out where everything is and how everything works and why the calendar functions the way it does. Because if you don't, then you wind up spending your time figuring those things out when you should be converting that lead. I joined Legal Match because I had been in a completely different mode. I was paying a marketer $4,000 a month, and I was running all over creation doing presentations. I was doing lunch and learns and seminars, webinars, all kinds of things, and sometimes very inefficiently. Sometimes I was addressing 2 or 3 people at a senior center. And that marketer decided she wanted to go back to school. She's interested in the mental health arena. And so we parted ways, and I had to make a decision on what I was going to do moving forward in terms of marketing. Because if there's no pressure on your demand pipeline, then you're out of business pretty quickly. So about that time, I saw something about Legal Match online, and I clicked the button to learn more, and one thing led to another. I talked to a number of attorneys that have used the service. They all gave rave reviews about it, and I finally talked them into to let me give a shot, without some big long commitment, and they were happy to do that. And I've never looked back. It's made a huge difference in my business. I would say 6 or 8 a day, maybe 12 on a heavy day, maybe 4 on a light day, but a sufficient number. Our conversion rate is about 60%. If I can get them on the phone, we're converting about 60% of the truly qualified prospects. on a monthly basis, I'm 10 or 12x return on my investment each month. I'm spending, a little over $800 a month, and I'm very confident that it's generating more than $10,000 a month in return. Responsiveness and his understanding of questions that I've taken to him. We had a period of time when I could not get to anyone first, and I wondered if someone was using a bot or something of that nature in order to beat me to the punch. And I picked up the phone, I called Charlie, and hey man, is there any chance this is going on? And he immediately looked into it, and together we figured out what was going on. My admin and I made some changes, and everything's back to normal. But it's the responsiveness. That's what I like most about Charlie. When we respond, and in my office, everyone is looking at Legal Match. When we respond, that response is going out over my signature by whoever sees it first. And then my administrative assistant is notified, and she follows up as quickly as possible by phone and sets a phone consult. And I'm spending 2.5 or 3 hours a day in consult. The bottom line is that the investment may seem large, and it is, that's a lot of money to a lot of people. But by the same token, there are a huge number of attorneys that will tell you that they have learned to work it correctly, that they know how to use that system, and they have tweaked their processes to embrace the influx of business. They're going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you. You'll never look back. If you have a month or two where the return isn't what you think it should be, then you probably need to get with your account rep and work on your initial responses or work on your response process inside your office. But we've covered the nuts and bolts. Anybody reach out to me or call me if they want to talk more about it. I'd be happy to entertain those discussions. I would tell them that if your processes are not shored up, meaning if you haven't done workflows that are automated in your office, or if you haven't put together a system by which you keep up with cases and where they are in development and that sort of thing, you need to get about that business really quickly, because my business grew enough that we actually had to go back and tweak our processes. Now, the good news is we had processes, but we had to tweak them. And what I learned out of that is you can tweak a process, you can't tweak chaos. And I've seen a lot of small firms, solo practitioners that are, just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. And if you do the Legal Match thing correctly, your business volume is going to be at least potentially enough that if you don't have those processes in place, that's the first thing you need to turn your attention to. I would. Anybody that called me and asked me about it, I would certainly recommend it. Now, if it was another elder lawyer in Dallas like me, it's, nah, you don't want to do it. But apart from that, if somebody came to me and wanted to know what I thought about it, I'd tell them just what I've told you. Man, give it a shot, because if you do it right, I don't think you'll ever look back.